The 3-0 Seahawks ended up being 3-3 really quickly in a 10-day span. It happened really fast, but it was 11-day span actually, but it ended up being 3 games in 11 days, lost all 3. And it's not as optimistic as it was, George, just 10 days ago.
Yeah, I mean, 10 days ago, we were talking about, are we the best team in the NFC? Well, how far can we go? Are we going to be division champions? And now, I mean, the 49ers came into Seattle, and I know the score didn't seem like at the end, I guess, that much of a butt whooping, but it was a butt whooping. They beat us up and down the field. If we didn't have that kickoff return for a touchdown, we probably would have gotten blown out even more. Just all around awful performance by the Seahawks. There's nothing I only can say it's awful. Nothing that I can take other than that. This is how many games in a row we lost to the 49ers?
That's our 6th in a row.
6 in a row to the division rival 49ers. It's awful. It's one of those games where we saw the Cardinals, and the cool thing I thought at least was, the 49ers had blown leads at half to the Cardinals and stuff, and then didn't blow it to us.
You're listening to the Sports on Tap Seattle podcast. I'm Sammy, and with me as always is my older brother George.
Your favorite place to be a fan of Seattle sports. Now let's get this party started.
We jumped around to a few topics there. So let's start with what you first said, which was the kick return for a touchdown. One, that was definitely a bailout in terms of what the score, ended up being. Mm-hmm. And, which this doesn't usually happen in biased environments or in homer environments, but, we'll try our best not to be complete homers all the time. The refs also completely blew the call on the punt fumble that hit D. Williams' hand. And they came out after and they were like, well, it was, it was a complicated situation. And I think they just they picked up the flag on hitting him. So then they felt like they should not call it, but it was completely the wrong call. At the end of the day, if you picked up the flag and you review that, it hit his hand, obviously. And it would have been 49ers ball. And there was so many different things. They probably would have scored again right there. It was at the 20-yard line. There were so many things that just didn't go right outside of the fact that essentially they outplayed us. What is it? It's I always mess it up. It's 40. I always say 48 minutes like the NBA, but it's 60 minutes. They probably outplayed us for about 48 of those 60, and we probably outplayed them for 12 minutes where we made that run really quick. It looked good, but the whole first half was disastrous. We had a 10 to 12 minute stretch where it's oh my God, we're back in this game, and then back to disaster. Just the offense, the defense, everything. I mean, to your point, it was ugly. I mean, you look at a situation where we needed one more stop to get the ball back, and we gave up a 60-yard run to the third string running back. That's not good.
Yeah, and I mean, I tweeted right then and there, the Seahawks need new defensive players. The personnel's just not there. At the end of the day, maybe Bobby Wagner, someone we should have brought back. We just have our linebackers can't tackle that well. It puts a lot of pressure on our corners. Just overall, the defense itself. I mean, you can scheme all you want, and Mike McDonald might be a great schemer, but you can only scheme so much. If me and you are out there, you can put the best defensive scheme in history, and we're not going to be able to tackle even third string running backs like we couldn't. So,
I saw a funny tweet, George, kind of to your thing with Mike McDonald, and you talk about these ex-coaches for the Seahawks. It was funny because I saw, I think it was New Era or Docs on, he's a big Seahawks guy on Twitter. He was like, oh my God, Shane Waldron's offense went off this week, and Baltimore's defense was locking down Jaden Daniels for a little bit, without Mike McDonald. It was the opposite. It was everything that we hated about we're wow, the Ravens defense won't be the same, and the Bears offense will suck with Shane Waldron. The complete opposite happened this week, and then the Seahawks got offense was bad and defense was bad, while all the the formers were doing well. It was kind of a devastating week for the Seahawks.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you have literally no players. I'm sorry. I mean, the best way to put it is the Seahawks have no players. The defense doesn't have the right players. Injuries do a big part of that. Our defensive line didn't have, we were missing out some players on the defensive line, and then we'll get to the offensive line later. But when you don't have players, I mean, it doesn't matter. Personnel is a huge part of football, and our personnel is just not up to task with other people's personnel.
Yeah,
Our secondary is good though.
Yeah, I wouldn't say we don't have players. I think what you mean more by that, correct me if I'm wrong, is like we don't have the right collective group of players.
We have
Offense.
a huge holes. There we go.
Yes, yeah, because like at the end of the day, we do have
Grand Canyon sized holes.
yeah, but like at the end of the day, you have Devin Witherspoon who could be an All-Pro. Tariq Woolen was out also, by the way. Like we had
Yeah, I
Byron
know.
Murphy out, Tariq Woolen out, Uchenna Nwasu back on the IR. Those are some names that are supposed to be really good. We don't know about Byron Murphy yet. He's supposed to be a good rookie, but Tariq Woolen's a high-level corner, and we have our high-level edge rushers out, and our linebacking core is not as good. I mean, Bobby Wagner's still doing pretty good. He might have been helpful this year. There's a lot of pieces that just aren't performing up to the level that we need. And on the offensive side, we have a lot of pieces, but the interior, the offensive line, is not cutting it still. And I think I saw another tweet that I think kind of goes to your point here. And this is something that I know you've, whether you've been watching us for 2-3 years or just you're new to this channel, George is definitely a big, and I've become this, is a build inside out type of guy. Mm-hmm. And somebody tweeted like the Detroit Lions are a great example of they like built the team the opposite of what the Seahawks did. Now they still ended up with really good running backs and receivers and other things, but their entire thing, the whole reason Detroit has changed was like that offensive line and defensive line becoming dominant.
Right. I mean, now for them, unfortunately, Aiden Hutchinson looks like he's out for he's out for the year. Yeah. So like maybe that domination on the defensive line won't be as dominant as it was, but you're absolutely right, because, the thing that really ticks me off, Sammy, is we are saving money at the most important position in football, the quarterback position. I know Geno got paid, but he's probably middle of the pack to the outer pack of quarterbacks being paid. So we should have money to go and build an offensive line the right way. And I know there's been injuries, and I know we're on our third string right guard now, and or right tackle and all that. But when you save that much money at the most important position, and when you have the running back, Kenneth Walker, still on a rookie contract, you have one wide receiver, DK Metcalf, getting paid, but he's also looking for a new contract. But then you have Tyler Lockett, took a team-friendly deal. Jackson Smith, Jigba, always hard time pronouncing his name, is also on a rookie. Where's the money being spent? How is the money being spent so wrong that we can't build an offensive line?
Just a quick moment for our advertisers. We are affiliated with a few sports betting apps, but let's start with the Rebet app, which is legal in the state of Washington, and you can use promo code ONTAP for 100% deposit match up to $100. You put in $100, they'll give you a $100 free bet. Minimum deposit $10, and it's just like any other sports betting app. George, tell them about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. They have gotten licenses in 46 out of 50 states, including Washington for you Seahawks fans, Texas, California, anywhere basically except 4 states. But the way it works is they call it a sweepstakes model. So you actually buy something called Rebet coins or Rebet cash, and you take the Rebet cash, bet it on the spread. If you win, or player props, futures, whatever it is, you win, you can convert it back to real cash and deposit it into your account. And that way you can bet on sports legally in Washington State.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting, actually. So make sure you get there, promo code ONTAP, or use the link in our description. And then for people that are outside of the States, if you want any other things like Caesars Sportsbook or Underdog Fantasy or other things like that, we also have that available. Link in the description, or using promo code ONTAP for Underdog. And yeah, you can check all those out in the links in our description. I have a link that takes you straight to all our affiliates, and you can press what state you're in and then click on the app or the sportsbook that you want to sign up for. It helps us grow and do more episodes for you guys. And George, you want to give them the legal statement before we get back to the show?
Yeah, and if you're going to do this, just make sure you're 21 or over. And if you have a gambling problem or know someone with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
That's just for legality. We love y'all, and let's get back to the episode. You know what? Let's go to Spot Track really quick.
Right? I mean, like, okay, what we look like we're saving money at
Tyler Lockett's contract is still a big cap rate, though. So, like, I think
true, but
now at the end of the day, it's so the NFL is confusing, right? But like when it comes to like the cap rates and the values and the Like
Yeah, you
it's
need to be a
so
rocket
complicated.
scientist at NASA to understand them. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like it is definitely confusing. Let's see, like our average salary is the highest paid player on the team's Geno Smith at 25 million. I'll share my screen on this
for
for.
for
Uh,
yeah, but for a quarterback, that's really not
yeah, he's getting
awful.
paid like 15th, and he's like the 15th best quarterback. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fair. Like, and that's not even shade at Geno Smith. I mean, at the end of the day, he's feels like he's been regressing every week, but he's still probably like the 15th best quarterback in the NFL, and we're paying him
Okay.
like the 15th best.
Can I say something about him regressing, by the way, before we get to that? Because I did do a short here for Seattle that'll be out. I'll post. I'll send it to you later today to post. But listen to this. I do have some stats for you before we get into the numbers, right? Pocket time. Geno Smith at 1.8 seconds before the pocket collapses is the lowest in the league. He's the only quarterback under 2 seconds. On top of that, yes, he's thrown a lot of picks, but Geno's pick rate is 2.4%. That's lower than Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, and Jordan Love. And his bad throw percentage is 7.8, which is the lowest in the league. To compare, Mahomes' bad throw percentage is 14.2, Dak is 17, Joe Burrow 12.9. So, yeah, this is all on the offensive line. Like, look at, like you said, Jared Goff. He's putting up worse stats than Geno on those like metrics. But he has time to throw the football.
Yeah, well, but that regardless, that still plays a role in where you're ranked as a quarterback. Unfortunately,
Of course, of course.
whether or not it's fair, it's still, like we've seen Baker Mayfield struggle some places and then be good with Tampa Bay now, where he has some protection and he plays really well and he has the right system. We've seen Sam Darnold Sam Darnold couldn't even beat out Baker Mayfield in Carolina, and he was shipped around the league, and he was a backup to Brock Purdy, and then he's like the best quarterback in football right now with the Vikings,
and
because
the best quarterback in football history. No, I'm kidding, but he's playing so damn good.
Yeah. So, but all that still goes to the quarterback. At the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes might have some numbers like that don't do whatever, but at the end of the day, he finds a way to pull out wins because he's totally special. So my big thing on that is more that there are quarterbacks that find a way to take their problems and get through them. And there's some quarterbacks like Geno Smith's level, and that's not shaded at him. I mean, he's had such an amazing story and comeback, but he's found a way to be a perennial backup and a guy that can never start again in the league. To be the 15th best quarterback in the league is a very big accomplishment, but he doesn't have necessarily the intangibles of a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or
right. But I think
guys.
anything short of that, having a Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes behind center right now, the quarterback will struggle and throw those interceptions and play the way like the 15th best quarterback in NFL. That's my point. Like I've
been agreeing with you since the beginning, though, because I'm saying he's paid like the 15th best quarterback, and he's around the 15th best quarterback.
Yeah, he's performing like the 15th best.
Yeah, but he has some numbers that might show that he's a little better than what some of the other things show, and there's probably some stuff that shows he's a little worse than what something shows, like when it comes to statistics, right? I mean, I guess I'm talking about the eye test.
Yeah, I think stats are amazing because you can twist and turn and pull your theory any way you want if you find the right stats.
Yeah, you just did it. Like those stats are great. And I'm not saying it's a bad, I'm not saying that's going to be a bad video. That's a good video because it shows some of the advanced numbers. But you go to, even like we talk about PFF grading all the time, right? Like I was telling you before the recording, like, the 49ers are 3-3. They're number 3 in all overall grading on PFF because the numbers just show that they're still a really good football team, right? Like no matter what happens, the Seahawks there's only 2 3-3 teams, George, in the top 10 in PFF grading. And
I'm guessing we're one of them.
Yeah, we're number 9. We're ahead of the 5-0 Vikings. So like there are numbers that show San Francisco and Seattle at 3-3 are 2 of the top 10 teams in football. And San Francisco's in the top 3. So those are statistics. At the end of the day, still, if you don't win games, like at the end of the day, if you end up being 9 you can't be 8-8 anymore. If you end up being 8-9 or 9-8 and you miss the playoffs, nobody cares about the stats that you were a top 10 team, right?
Right. And I kind of feel like that's like the unfortunate truth of what the Seahawks are. I mean, with this offensive line, with the amount of injuries we have, with our schedule, with a lot of things going on with the Seahawks, I think we're destined to be a 9-8 team that's either just sneaking into the playoffs or just have one foot outside the playoffs looking in.
Yeah. I mean, and that's fine. I mean, at the end
That's
of the
fine. No.
day,
First, we said this before the
yeah.
season, right? Yeah.
The only issue with that, before we get to the numbers, I actually do want to look at these contracts. But
All right.
the only problem with that is two things, in my opinion. One, Geno Smith is 33 or 34. He just turned 34, I think, this week on Thursday during the game. Turned 34. And we were what, 9-8 the last 2 years, I believe.
Yes.
So like, if you're just stuck in that range while your quarterback's gonna, Geno's gonna be a free agent this next year, right? This is his last year on the contract. It was 3 years.
I think so.
No, it ends 2025. I don't know what that means. It started in 2023, so 2025.
Yeah, he signed a 3-year contract. One more after this. Yeah,
but he'll be 35. And if we're still a 9-8 team this year, next year, and then you're like looking at it like, well, we either need a like succession, like we need to hope we can get, like, fingers crossed, Sam Howell is like a Sam Darnold, right? Like Kirk Cousins is gone, but oh look, Sam Darnold's just as good. You got to hope for that, or you're going to be in a weird situation that shoot. Sorry, I'm not supposed to swear on this. We're syndicated now, but
press the button B and you can mark what part so you can
mark 1422. Thank you. Like at the end of the day, it's gonna be like, shoot, now what, right? Like if we don't have a quarterback, and then we got.
I thought you almost did it again.
No, I said shoot.
I know. I was like, wait, what?
But we're gonna look at like, okay, well now it's time to pay Tariq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Charles Cross, and like, because Charles Cross, his contract ends in 2026. He's been playing like one of the best left tackles in all football.
He's the only bright spot on our offensive line.
Yeah, but where do we do then, right? Like, so that's kind of my issue with the 9-8, 9-8, 9-8, 9-8. It's like you start to become. Let's see if you can guess the team I'm thinking.
Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yes. You start to become the Pittsburgh Steelers of the last 5-6 years, which is just, we're always going to be 9-8 and losing the first round in the playoffs. And the Seahawks haven't won a playoff game in 5 years. That Eagles win was 5 years ago. And we've just been like a 8-9, 9-8 team. And that becomes an issue long term. Now, it's a new coaching staff. Maybe they excel like crazy next year, because it's like Ryan Grubb's second year in the league and Mike McDonald's second year in the league as a head coach. Like, it could excel. This is not supposed to be just like a negative situation, but these last 3 losses show that, man, we're not as good as we thought we were. And I think a lot of it, you said, where's the money going? Let's get to that, because I think that actually does like tell us a lot about this team. The money's going to Geno Smith. It's going to DK Metcalf, who has had fumbling issues and attitude issues every year.
But great player. I mean, he's fourth in receiving yards in NFL. I have no problem with his contract.
I'm just throwing it out there. Leonard Williams is actually having a good year. He looked really good. He's just not putting up crazy like statistics, which is hard on the defensive lines. Offensive line and defensive line are really hard to assess stats. Like, it's just
there's no real stats behind it.
Like Draymond Jones being number 4 paid is not good.
That's bad. Yeah, he's having
I haven't even seen. I feel like I haven't seen him like make a play. Uchenna Nwasu has been out for the last 2 years. He played 20 snaps this year so far. Tyler Lockett's 31, and he's good, but he's a number 3 receiver now, right? Julian Love's good, but okay, like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. Noah Fant's probably not who you want to be your 8th highest paid player on a team.
And then, you know what drives me crazy here? And then Devin Witherspoon's 9th, and he's on a rookie contract. So,
$7 million a year.
Yeah. So where's the money going?
It's very top heavy right now, and we have some cap space, but that's what's confusing about this team is the money's going to some places like, I don't know, like Byron Murphy's rookie deal. That's not even a concern. George Fant getting a decent sized contract, but he's hurt. Rayshawn Jenkins and Jerome Baker, and it just feels like this money is not being like spent. You go look at like how the Chiefs' money spent. It's probably like Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, and then you look at the players that the names come out, and you're like, oh, it's all their dominant players. Like, it's all
their
players
offensive
that contribute
line
to them being back-to-back Super Bowl winners.
Yeah,
That's where the difference is.
yeah, that's a very fair way to say it. And yeah, that's where my major concern is. But I know it's been a very negative conversation we've had here. Because
Wait. Before we go to positive, I need to show you one thing.
okay,
Because you brought this up, but now it's put me down a rabbit hole. You said, where's the money going, right?
Mhm.
Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. It goes to their quarterback, the most dominant defensive, like after after Aaron Donald left, Chris Jones is probably the next most dominant defensive player in the league.
TJ
He's
Watt would
number
want to
2.
talk to you, but that's okay.
Okay, the most defensive interior player is Chris Jones.
Yes, I agree.
He's not an edge rusher. Okay. And then it goes to 3 straight offensive linemen: Taylor,
That's what I want to see.
Thuney, Humphrey. And those are names that I actually know, and they actually contribute to helping Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce's up there. He deserves it because he's Travis Kelce. And then you have like Justin Reed's a known name. You start to go to like they're
It
top
is kind of
guys.
funny the kicker's that high up though, but I mean that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. He's a good kicker too. But like, look at that top 6. We're talking about Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, 3 offensive linemen, and Travis Kelce.
Exactly.
And it feels a little more fitting where their money's being spent. And I'm not saying we're spending it wrong. I'm not a cap expert. I don't know what the hell to do with the money, but
It looks like a good grocery list to me if I was shopping.
yeah, like if you look at the Chiefs, yeah, payroll, you're like, oh, that's good. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Offensive lineman's your quarterback and your best defensive interior player. It feels a little different than our list where it's like Draymond Jones, like
Yeah,
great.
exactly.
Oh, Tyler Lockett, our 32-year-old third receiver who's still great, but like
doesn't need the money. He's doing real estate on the side. Take a pay cut, dude.
I know, man. You're selling
I'm
these
kidding,
like $5
man.
million Medina houses, bro. Come on.
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine with that. I don't want to speak on anyone else's money, but anyway, can I get to one positive out of all this? Because I know it's been a very negative podcast on the Seahawks.
I have a few positives once we'll get there now. Go ahead.
Okay. I have one positive. It's the first year under a brand new regime. It's okay. We'll rebuild this. If he's the right coach, which I think he is, it'll all be rebuilt the right way at some point. And we're in year one. We're not even in year 1. We're 6 weeks in.
Yeah.
All good. We're 3-3. I'm fine.
Yeah. And I'll add to that is some of our losses have been against really good football teams. I mean, I know we only have 3 losses and 3 wins, but the Detroit Lions are number 1 overall team on PFF grading, and everyone knows they're pretty dominant. They did 7 different plays to offensive linemen yesterday for fun against the Cowboys because they were up 51-7.
And because remember what happened last year.
I don't.
Oh, the reason they did all this was because remember last year they lost to the Cowboys because they threw a touchdown to an offensive lineman and the referee called him an eligible receiver. Yeah, so this is all revenge. Yeah,
but also they wouldn't have done it if they weren't up by 75 points.
If it was 7-7, they're not doing all that.
They dominated. The way we played against the Lions gave me at least a little bit more like, okay, I mean, like the Cowboys are in a way worse situation than we are, and they're supposed to be better than the Seahawks this year. They've won 12 games 2 years in a row. The 49ers are still number 3 overall in PFF ranking and grading at 3-3. We're still number 9. We're about to play the Falcons, who are number 5. Now, I guess the positive side of all this too is we played 3 games in 10 days or 11 days, whatever it was. I keep reading it in different ways. I guess it depends if you count the day of Sunday playing as one day or not, but like 3 games in 10 days. But now we had 10 days off. Maybe. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you go beat Atlanta, you start to say, okay, they got healthier. They got their 10 days off. They had their mini bye week. And then you got the Bills. If you can win that, if you can win 2 in a row, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying if you can, all of a sudden, flip of the switch, the narrative changes again. And sometimes that happens in a football season. The Cincinnati Bengals, the year they made the Super Bowl, started off 0-3. I mean, sometimes you just have a bad schedule. You have a lot of injuries. There's also a possibility the Seahawks offense comes out against Atlanta and looks really good and they're healthy. And the defense is more healthy and it looks good. And some of the narrative changes. At the end of the day with football, it's not like baseball where it's every single day, right? You have to wait 6, 7 days every week to evaluate your team again. It's just going to be a bad taste in your mouth after a loss for 5-6 days, and then after wins, it's going to be this team's great for 5-6 days. That's just the reality of NFL.
I know. They either make your week or they break your week as a football fan. So it is. But with that said, Sam, I do want to say we are playing the Falcons and Bills, so we could be looking out here in 3 weeks or 2 weeks and say, hey, we're 3-5, and this team is probably going to, be going in the wrong direction. Both things, or we could say we're 4-4. There's like, I'm stating the obvious, but these are not easy football games that we have to play coming up.
Yeah, I posted on Twitter/X, whatever you like to call it, on our at Seattle on Tap, and it feels like everybody's kind of on the same page, George. Next 3 games, like I said, either 2-1 or 1-2. I hope it's 2-1, obviously, but there's a very chance it's 1-2. Like, you should beat the Rams at home the way that they're playing and the way they're beat up, but it's also a divisional opponent. Like, there's a lot of people, all 3, 1-2, 0-3, 1-2, 1-2, at least 2 losses. There's some confident people, of course, saying 3-0, but there's a lot of 1-2 and 0-3 assumptions here.
Absolutely.
Because there's a very high chance that happens, and we're looking, like you said, at a 3-5 or 3-6 Seahawks team. Now, I don't think, going back to your positive side, I don't think that means, oh my God, this sucks. No, it's the first year of a new head coach. But
exactly,
there's a lot of negative. There is a lot of negative to this schedule coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. And I mean, this Falcons team is a pretty good team with a lot of swag and a lot of weapons, and a lot of guys are hard to tackle. I mean, that's my biggest thing here is they're a physical team and a shifty team. The running back, I will get to our Falcons preview later this week, but they're not easy team to tackle. We're not a good tackling team. So this one actually kind of scares me.
Yeah, this one's a little, I think it's, before the season, I think on Twitter, I put out like a wins and losses, and I had Falcons as a loss, and everyone was like, why are you worried about the Falcons? And I think now people would understand why I put that as a loss, because Kirk Cousins, it took him a week or 2 to kind of get back from he's a 36-year-old with an Achilles injury, but he's Kirk Cousins again. He's just as good as he was last year with more weapons. I know he doesn't have Justin Jefferson, but he has Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts and Mooney and Drake London. And this team is pretty good. Yeah. I mean, that's the 2-headed monster at running back. We saw what happened against Detroit. Our run defense is I feel like our tackling on these run defense. We saw what happened with the 49ers even. Like, we're not a very good tackling team when it comes to running backs. That could be that could be a scary 2-headed monster coming at us on top of the other weapons they have.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to talking more about that game here later in the week. But yeah, it's going to be a tough one, and it'll be a fun one to watch either way.
Yeah, it's good. Hopefully it ends up being a good game. The Seahawks have found a way to make games at least
entertaining, at least.
Yeah. Like, even when they're out of it, they're kind of not out of it. So they've made it entertaining. But end of the day, hopefully things start to turn around despite the negativity that we spit out today. And maybe we'll have a little more positive podcast moving in this week. We might have a guest on Tuesday or Wednesday here coming soon, and most of you probably will know who he is. But I'll keep that for when I actually schedule it. And we'll do another one later in the week with a preview on the Falcons game and kind of just talking about what's to come. Hopefully, George, things change like we said. Hopefully. Hopefully it gets a little better. Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping. New week, new positivity.
For real. Make sure, everybody, to follow us everywhere at Seattle on Tap. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever, TikTok, wherever you're watching. We've been putting out a lot more shorts, like short form videos. So if you don't get those on your YouTube feed and you like to watch those on Instagram or other places, it's a good place to check it out. And make sure you sign up for the Rebet app or any sports betting apps. That one's legal in Washington using promo code on tap, but that would be, we didn't record it in the middle of the show. We'll record something post show and I'll put it in the middle of the episode. So you'll know what I'm talking about if you're at this point in the show.
Yeah. Go sign up for it. And like Sammy said, we'll have it in the middle of the show as well.
So no need to give you a spiel now. Anywho, we appreciate you guys, and we'll be back by tomorrow or Wednesday. So stay tuned and make sure you like and subscribe. You can find all our channels in our links in the description and all our links to other things. So make sure you check them out. And any love and support means a lot to us. So, George, you know what we like to say.
Hey, thanks for stopping by.
See you next time. Peace.